A wireless lawn mowing robot that mows in precise parallel paths, all while functioning completely without cameras, GPS reception, or multiple beacons in the garden. That sounds like wishful thinking. Yes, it almost sounds like it, but that's not the case. The new A1 from Dreame promises exactly this by relying on high-precision LiDAR technology for navigation. We'll take a detailed look at the advantages and disadvantages this offers, how well it performs in practice, and what else the professional mowing robot has to offer in today's video. I hope you're just as excited as I am. So let's get started right after the intro. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel for free and activate the bell to never miss a video. You can find the current prices of the device to support this channel in the video description below. Thank you for your support, and let's get started. If you have many large trees or buildings in your garden and don't want to install navigation beacons in every corner, but still don't want to miss out on an efficient mowing principle in parallel paths, then today's video is just right for you. Besides the Luba, Navimo, or Goat, which I've already tested for you, Dreame takes a different approach. The navigation of the so-called A1 is done solely through LiDAR on the lawn. What this means, both technically and practically for us as users, we'll now take a detailed look at. But first, let's start with a quick look at the contents of the package and the setup process. Starting with the exterior, the product box of the A1 catches the eye with a subtle yet high-quality design. A large image of the robot, along with the most notable key data, gives us a rough idea of what to expect from the outside. Upon opening, we find a very large quick start guide on top in A1 format, containing all the important information to get the robot up and running immediately. Below that is the small accessory kit in a separate box, which includes the declaration of conformity, user manual in multiple languages, spare blades, and anchoring screws. Lastly, the product box also contains a cleaning brush and the actual mowing robot along with its charging station. Compared to all the other GPS mowing robots, the contents of this package seem surprisingly straightforward, as there's no need for an antenna, beacons, RFID chips, or the like. Additional accessories, such as a cover and extra modules, are of course optionally available. However, the standard package of the mower is fully sufficient to put the device into operation immediately. As for the complete setup, I must admit it was surprisingly simple and took me about 25 to 30 minutes before the mower was ready for use. Additionally, I did not encounter any significant connectivity issues or other software-related errors that would have complicated the setup process. To keep the video concise, here's a brief overview of the process. The basic setup steps include 1. Finding a location for the station and mounting it. The only thing to keep in mind is that the station must be level so the robot doesn't slip out. 2. Downloading the app, creating a user account, connecting to the robot, and installing the latest firmware updates. Depending on how good your Wi-Fi connection is in the garden, the update process can take a few minutes to an hour, as was the case for me because I have extremely poor Wi-Fi connection in the garden. Therefore, make sure to start in a location with good Wi-Fi reception if you want it to go quickly. 3. Lastly, similar to GPS-based mowers, we need to map the area, showing the robot where to mow and where not to. To do this, we use the smartphone as a remote control and drive around the boundaries of the lawn and the no-go zones. During this process, the device scans the surroundings with the LiDAR sensor and creates a virtual 3D map. Lastly, we only need to add connection paths between individual zones or the charging station if it is outside the mowing zone, and that's it. Once this is done, the robot is ready for use, although we can still make additional minor settings such as a schedule, zone management, and the like. For those who found this setup part a bit too fast and would like a separate video on it, please let me know in the comments below so I can decide if another video is worthwhile. Once the video is online, I will link it here on the top right in the info card. And now it's time. The Dreame A1 is fully set up and ready to be thoroughly tested. Let's get started. Starting with the exterior, as you can easily see, the appearance of the Dreame A1 is anything but inconspicuous. The dark gray, high-gloss metallic chassis, which I haven't seen on any other lawnmower robot so far, not only looks particularly high quality, but also creates a strong association with the paint job of a real car. Similarly, the shiny machined rims of the drive wheels and, last but not least, the rear of the robot with the hinted red LED stripe and the lower diffuser immediately remind me of the typical look of a Porsche. Do you feel the same way? Let me know in the comments below. In terms of overall visual impression, I have to admit, I really like the robot, although this is always a matter of taste. However, one thing I can say right away, the housing is definitely prone to dirt and scratches. The chassis also makes a relatively robust impression, but what I definitely miss is either a reinforced plastic edge or integrated handles like on the Navimo to enable safe lifting and transporting of the robot. Regarding the transportation of the robot, it doesn't look so bad. With a weight of 12 kilograms, the A1, as you can see in the graphic, is right in the middle. More precisely, between the two comparable models, Navimo and Goat G1, making it definitely not too heavy. Another advantage, the robot itself is IPX6 certified, so it can easily be cleaned with a garden hose, saving us a lot of time in practice. Since we were just talking about the nice-looking drive wheels, let's move on to the associated point: off-road capability. The Dreame A1 has, as you can easily see, two small steering rollers at the front and two large drive wheels at the rear, the latter having a diameter of 200 millimeters. Compared to other models we've already tested, it is, as shown in the graphic, in the good mid-range. Paired with the rear-wheel drive, it can easily handle small to medium-sized uneven terrain without getting stuck. Similarly, like the Goat, it is rated with a maximum climbing ability of 45 degrees under ideal conditions, which is perfectly adequate for most gardens. Supported by the small steering rollers at the front, it also has good maneuverability, for example, when turning, although I did notice that due to the rough tread, it occasionally leaves track marks. Another point that immediately caught my eye is the deep skirt at the front, similar to what the Goat G1 has. While it looks nice and provides a clean finish to the housing, it could potentially have a negative impact in practice. With many strong, uneven spots on the lawn, it could happen that the two steering rollers get caught in the holes and the chassis sets down in the front, causing the robot to get stuck. Admittedly, this is more than unlikely on a well-maintained lawn. I wanted to mention it anyway. Let's now move on to the most important criterion of any lawn mowing robot, namely the mowing result. While other manufacturers launch various model variants on the market, Dreame provides an all-in-one device. The A1, with a maximum area capacity of up to 2,000 square meters, is more than well equipped. As you can see in the graphic, it ranks very high in this area capacity and competes with the area king, Luba. Therefore, the device is not only designed for small and medium, but also for very large gardens. In practice, we can also influence the mowing efficiency of the robot by choosing between the standard and efficient modes in the app. The difference relates to the mowing performance. In standard mode, the robot manages 120 square meters per hour and up to 200 square meters per hour in efficient mode under optimal conditions, which means a mostly flat area with long paths and few obstacles. With this information, you can now calculate approximately how long the robot will take for your area. Additionally, the app shows us the estimated duration of the current mowing task when it starts. However, it should be mentioned that the stated 2,000 square meters of the Dreame are not mowed in one go. The robot needs several runs due to the battery capacity, as we'll see in the following section. When looking more closely at the battery life of the Dreame A1, a particularly significant advantage of the mower stands out. If we take a look at the underside, we see a cover under which the battery is located. While the battery in most other robots is difficult or impossible to reach because it is deep inside, the A1's battery is particularly easy and user-friendly to replace in case of wear. Moreover, it is clearly labeled as an 18-volt lithium-ion battery with 5 ampere-hours. This has a capacity of 90 watt-hours, which is perfectly sufficient for its size and places the robot, as seen in the graphic, in the good mid-range compared to other devices. In practice, this gives it a solid battery life of up to 120 minutes under optimal conditions, which is more than enough, as the graphic nicely illustrates. Assuming the robot returns to the charging station at a battery level of 15%, the A1 managed an area of about 280 square meters in my test on relatively flat terrain with few obstacles and moderately tall, dense grass. Comparing this data, it's clear that the A1 performs quite well. As we are used to from lawn mowing robots in this price range, the cutting height adjustment is usually implemented very comfortably via an electric motor. This is also the case with the A1 Dreame. The cutting height can easily be adjusted from the app or directly on the device via the control panel, which I find very practical. I also find the range in which we can adjust the cutting height well chosen. With a lower limit of 30 mm, it is, as shown in the graphic, at the upper end, but still more than enough for my taste when it comes to low cutting. On the other hand, we get a maximum cutting height of a whopping 70 mm, which only the Luba can match and which protects against drying out on poor soils or under strong sunlight. And lastly, the A1 also features a so-called floating mowing deck, which has the advantage of remaining flexible on uneven terrain, thereby protecting the turf. While we're on the topic of the cutting disc, let's take a look at the cutting width. The first thing that stands out is that Dreame has equipped the A1 with 3 blades in total, which is sufficient but not particularly special compared to other devices. More noteworthy is the way the blades are mounted. The A1 uses quick-release fasteners, which I haven't seen on any other lawn mowing robot, and this brings the huge advantage that the blades can be changed without tools and with a single movement. The cutting width itself is a solid 220 mm, which is pretty good and places the Dreame among the higher-end models. The result, as mentioned in the battery life section, is the high efficiency of the mower, covering 120 or 200 square meters per hour. This means that even larger areas can be fully covered in a short time. Another very important feature of a lawn mowing robot is the edge cutting capability, which I also tested extensively in practice. To ensure that the edge is cut as cleanly as possible and that the robot does not get damaged, prior mapping is crucial. In practice, it is advisable to maintain a distance of at least 10 centimeters from protruding or sloping edges. This ensures that the robot does not scrape along the boundary or fall off. Due to the centrally positioned cutting disc, you need at least 15 centimeters of distance from the boundary to ensure that the edge is fully mowed. If the lawn area can be more generously crossed, such as when there is a path right next to it, I would recommend driving the mowing robot precisely along the center of the boundary during mapping. The edge cutting itself is performed by the robot after each complete mowing operation, or we can manually initiate the edge cutting via the selection point in the app if we only want the edges mowed. This brings us to the point everyone has surely been waiting for: the working principle and the ingenious positioning technology of the Dreame A1. Unlike the other previously presented lawn mowing robots like the Luba and Navimo, which use GPS, or the Ecovacs Goat, which works with signal beacons, the Dreame is based on a completely different technical foundation. Light detection and ranging, or LiDAR for short, is Dreame's secret weapon for navigation. The device has a small half sphere on its top for this purpose. Underneath is the heart of the system, the LiDAR sensor, which should never be covered or damaged, as it's the robot's eye. The working principle is somewhat similar to that of a conventional laser distance meter, which many people have likely used before. When a measurement is triggered, a short laser pulse is emitted, which then hits an object, such as a wall, and is reflected back. The sensor measures the time the laser pulse takes to travel and, through the so-called time of flight measurement, calculates the distance to the object. This gives us the first measurement point. The LiDAR sensor in the robot does the same, but 10,000 times faster and more frequently as it moves over the lawn. During mapping, it measures millions of points around it and generates a digital 3D map. You can view this map in the app, allowing you to not only see your property in 3D, but also to appreciate the incredibly ingenious technology behind it. Using special algorithms and comparing with the map, the robot can always determine its exact position on the lawn within a few centimeters. In practice, this works very well, as you can see in the video, with the robot always mowing in parallel lines regardless of its location, and it never accidentally strayed outside the boundary. This brings another huge advantage. The A1 is completely independent of GPS, so it can mow under large trees in full shade or near tall buildings without any limitations. However, I can't yet comment on how well the robot will handle long-term changes in nature, such as trees and especially leaves. This will only become clear in long-term tests. Overall, the results of my test regarding positioning were consistently positive, so I have no complaints in this regard. For a total area of 2,000 square meters, which the Dreame can handle, good multi-zone management is essential. Technically, the A1 has no problem managing multiple zones independently. However, in practice, it is a bit different. At the time of this video recording, you can only create and manage 2 zones with the Dreame. This has now been changed by a software update. Otherwise, the implementation of multi-zone management works quite well. Creating zones is simple and clear, as is creating connecting paths, which allows us to place the charging station outside the mowing area if needed. The width of the connecting paths should not be less than 1 meter if you want to link zones through narrow areas. Let's not forget the no-go zones, which can be created just like a normal mowing zone. Additionally, and quite conveniently, we can draw no-go zones directly in the app without having to move the robot. This allows us to quickly and easily create and remove restricted zones to avoid garden furniture or other temporary objects on the lawn. Manually selecting and navigating to individual zones also works seamlessly. The cutting height can also be set for different zones after the update, which I think is very good. Let's move on to a particularly important topic: obstacle detection. While other robotic lawnmowers use cameras, ultrasonic sensors, or bumpers to detect obstacles, the Dreame only has the LiDAR sensor. This will please those who highly value privacy and data protection because, even in the unlikely event that a third party obtains the robot's data through criminal means, all they would see is a beautiful, colorful 3D map of our garden. While this has significant advantages, it also comes with certain limitations. The LiDAR sensor has an impressive field of view of 360 by 59 degrees, allowing it to easily detect objects around the mower. In practice, this worked flawlessly for me, as the robot easily detected large objects like people or garden furniture. It also had no problem with smaller obstacles on the lawn, such as a soccer ball, a watering can, flower pots, or similar items, as shown in the video. All of these were reliably avoided during my tests. However, the Dreame has issues with even smaller objects under 10 centimeters in height. In the app, you can choose between several obstacle levels, such as 20 centimeters, to mow very tall grass without it being recognized as an obstacle. The lowest setting is still greater than or equal to 10 centimeters, which is quite high for small obstacles. Due to the LiDAR sensor's position on the top, it cannot detect objects protruding less than 10 centimeters from the lawn. Small garden tools, children's toys, and similar items will be run over by the A1. Unfortunately, this also means it couldn't detect my hedgehog dummy, which only protrudes about 7 centimeters from the lawn. The A1 failed the hedgehog test. It's also worth noting the general handling of obstacles. The A1 behaves similarly to the Navimo, turning around when it encounters an obstacle and mowing the area behind it at a later time. Another advantage of LiDAR-based detection is its high reliability, as it's less susceptible to interference compared to cameras. Sun rays, shadows, or moving in complete darkness pose no problems for the A1. Overall, the obstacle detection works very well. The only downside is that obstacles smaller than 10 centimeters are not detected. So, if you regularly have many small obstacles on your lawn, you should either remove them before mowing or opt for another mowing with precise obstacle detection. You can find relevant videos on this topic on my channel. And now, a few final words about the controller and management of the mower. Compared to other devices like the Luba, the Dreame A1 still has a large control panel with an LCD display, allowing us to make settings such as cutting height or the device language directly on the mower without using a phone. More extensive settings can be made in the app. In my opinion, it's clearly laid out and easy to use. There are enough settings available, but I still wish the individual zones could be managed more efficiently. Specifically, different cutting heights and individual schedules for each zone, etc. Overall, the app is very good, and I hope that with the promised updates introducing more zones, these features will also be included. Lastly, don't forget, the mower also has an integrated anti-theft feature secured by a 4-digit PIN and emits an audible warning when the mower is moved. So let's move on to the final verdict. One thing I can clearly say is that the Dreame A1 deserves its top rating. Yes, I must admit it's not 100% perfect, especially when it comes to obstacle detection. Apart from this one drawback, the mower performs exceptionally well, especially for those where a GPS mower performs poorly due to heavy shielding from trees or buildings. The A1's LiDAR technology is invaluable. In the following summary, I've compiled the most important criteria to help you determine if the A1 is right for you in your garden or if you should opt for another model. The more criteria you can confirm, the better it's suited for you. So, let's begin. 1. My lawn area is no longer than 2,000 square meters. 2. I don't have a flat field extending to the horizon. Instead, I have important objects like a fence, garden shed, house, or trees nearby for the robot to navigate. 3. For now, 2 zones are sufficient for me. However, I would still like to be able to create more zones through future updates. 4. Efficient mowing in parallel lines is particularly important to me. 5. It's important to me that I can easily and independently replace the battery when it wears out. 6. Privacy is particularly important to me because I don't need a moving camera in my garden. And 7. Also very important, I don't have small obstacles under 10 centimeters in height on the lawn, or I am willing to remove them before mowing because the robot will not detect them. Okay, so far so good. I hope the video can help you with your decision making. What do you think of the A1 from Dreame? Feel free to write your opinion or even your experiences in the comments below. I look forward to your feedback. You can find the current prices of the device to support this channel in the video description below. Thank you very much for your support. If you liked the video, feel free to show it a thumbs up and promote this video. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, as mentioned, and activate the bell so you won't miss any future videos. So, stay healthy, take care, and see you next time. Bye!